Hello everyone, Thaddeus here with a guide for you today. It's going to be a look at how to get into Dragonstorm. This is going to be an instanced thing you can do. It happens every 2 hours and you can join a public instance. It's going to be up to 50 players and you can join that every even hour. So the even hours, it's going to happen at the top of the hour. You can go up to the Eye of the North here, and over here is where you're going to go ahead and talk to this guy once the time comes up, and he is going to I'll give you the option to go ahead and join into the Dragonstorm instance. And once you join the instance here, you're going to have just basically a multi-step process to go through to complete this instance. It's pretty easy to complete. Almost never had it fail on me, so it's not too bad. It's just going to be about 15 minutes. Sometimes it gets a little faster if you luck into a good group that's really cruising right along, but for the most part you're looking at 15 minutes to go ahead and get through this. Starts off where you go down and destroy these pillars here, and then you're going to have to secure the area by killing all the mobs that are inside the circles. And once that gets complete, you got to go over to the other side of the map where there's a second one, and again you'll go ahead and destroy the pillar and clear out any of the mobs that are in there, filling up the bar. We'll start the next step of the process here. That next step of the process is going to just be the champions coming out to be fought individually. There's going to be two champions, one at a time, coming out of the portal that's going to spawn in the middle of the map. You're just going to fight the boss, not worry about the ads, and once you get him down to 26%, then it'll be time for the second boss to, or I'm sorry, not boss, they're champions, the second champion to spawn. With these bosses, they're both going to have a red AoE that does fill up around their feet, goes out. You just got to make sure you are either outside of that big circle or dodge, as that's going to be a knockback, and nobody likes to be on their back. This is just going to be a matter of DPSing the boss down, and it does scale with the amount of players that are in the instance. So more players needs a little more DPS, and that's why it's pretty consistently going to be about 15 minutes, because even if your map's not full, it does scale with the amount of players, and it is going to be pretty consistently at that 15-minute mark. They are going to both have a attack that's going to come in front of them in like a half circle. Don't stand in that. That's also going to be a knockback. And you haven't noticed a theme, lots of knockbacks. They will eventually have attacks where they have an arrow pointing in a direction. They're basically going to do a big AoE attack all the way down the path of that arrow, and you don't want to stand in that area, or you guessed it, it's knockback time. So that's about all there is to these bosses. This ice boss here, not a lot to worry about with, as long as you can stay out of those red areas. Once he's down to 26%, you'll get the second spawn of the champion, and that is going to be the champion of the fire champion, and that's going to be a little different here, where he's going to have, instead of having ice attacks that knock you down, he's going to have fire attacks that knock you down. But it's going to be a lot of the same things here. He's going to have a red AoE that fills up around his feet, and then you need to jump or dodge out of it or be out of it, or you get knocked back. He's going to have an attack where he points the arrow in the direction he's going to attack, and you got to stay out of that area, or he will make that charge and knock everyone back in the area. And he also has these craters that come with these fire waves, and you can see there they will knock you down as well. And once this champion's down to 26%, that will start the next step of this instance. And that is going to be the unskippable cutscene, where the dragons will come up, one on each side of the map behind their champions. Once the dragons come up, there will be 3 little pylons that do spawn to the north side of the map, and you'll just need to run over to that area and get them down. Just DPS these things down. Doesn't take long because there's only 3 and you got 50 people in there doing it. So that's a quick thing that needs to be done before you can move on to the next step. The next step is going to be a break bar defiance bar. The two champions are going to meet in the middle of the battlefield down there, in the middle of that trench between the two dragons, and you will need to break their defiance bar, at which point they will go ahead and be ejected towards their dragons. Once they get ejected, one to each side, then the group will also need to split and attack both of the champions at the same time. The group does need to split relatively evenly because the bosses are going to need to be defeated at the same time, or at least within a window of time where one goes down, the other one will have 30 seconds, I believe it is, to be downed as well. Otherwise, you'll have to respawn the other champion and try again. But if you see that one of the champions is getting a little too much DPS, you can either switch to or switch from them and try to make sure that they do get defeated down at the same time to save yourself a little bit of heartache. Once both champions are down, you can go ahead and get ready to punch the Elder Dragon in the face. What could be more fun? Up here by the first pylons that you were able to destroy, there's now a launch pad which you jump on, and it'll launch you into one of the dragon's faces. Once you get there, you hit your special action key and punch him in the face. This will need to be done for both of the dragons, one to the north and one to the south for the launch pads. And once that's done, then we will go ahead and have another phase where we will need to get the pylons on the sides of the map. This time, instead of being all only on the north side, there will be 3 on the north, 3 on the south, and they will need to all be destroyed before you can move on to the next phase. Unlike the boss champions, there does not need to be done at the same time. You just got to get them all done before you can move along to the next step. And on to that next step, you're going to have some deja vu as the bosses, champions, have met again in the middle of the battlefield. And again, they will need to have that defiance bar broken, and that will eject them, one to each side, where again you will need to do the DPS at the same time to get them to be defeated within that window. I will mention here that there is now also a attack from the dragon onto the field, and it's going to be like a road that comes up from the dragon straight up the middle, and you do not want to stand in that when it's happening. It's going to look like just a red road with right down the middle of the thing towards the center and where the dragons are, where the champions are fighting. They will usually only get 1 or 2 of these attacks off during the whole encounter, but it is best to stay out of it because no one wants to be frozen or burned by the Elder Dragons. The mechanics during these split phases where there's one champion on each side are just the same as they were when you fought them individually when they came out. The ones that you need to worry about are the red AoE that comes out from his feet, the cone attack that goes in front of him, and other than that, the ones that are the smaller red circles that are just around the whole thing don't do near as much damage and are not near as big of a concern. And then the champions get downed again, and again we have to jump on the launch pads to go punch some dragons in the face. This will be done the same way by jumping on the launch pad, getting shot towards the dragon, and then once you get there, special action key. Once those dragons have been punched in the face enough that they are the bars on the side have been completed, you will again get the champions in the middle of the battlefield for one last defiance bar break. Once this defiance bar has been broken, it is going to be time to go up to the initial pylons that we broke down, and this time we are going to channel some power for Aurene. Once that channeling is complete, you will be launched back up to the starting area of this instance, at which point you will get another short and kind of cool unskippable cutscene where the dragons will destroy each other. And that will complete the Dragonstorm event, where you can grab your loot, and this is going to be worth about 5 gold to you, unless you do end up getting one of those rare drops, an infusion, or some other cool ascended gear. And that's going to be it for Dragonstorm. Good thing to do every day, and gets you some extra gold and items pretty easy. Thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed this video. Please like and subscribe for more.